Today we'll be going over the Cinegrams Powergrade, taking our footage from this to this. We'll be going over a few different examples, but the Cinegrams Powergrade is very easy to use, but you're able to create some incredibly filmic results. So let's hop into DaVinci Resolve and color grade some clips. Now that we're in DaVinci Resolve, we're going to come over to a gallery. We've already installed the Cinegrams Powergrade, so we're going to right click and press Apply Grade. And with Applied Grade, we can see already we have this before and an after. And the very first thing that you have to do is when you've applied the Cinegrams Powergrade is come over to your CST, come over to your effects, and input your color space and your color gamma that we used. So here I used my Sony A7S III, I used the Sony S-Gamma 3.Cine and S-Log 3. In our primary is where we're going to kind of adjust our exposure levels. So you can see here it's a little bit underexposed. So what I can do is come over to my offset and start bringing the clip up. And as you can see, as I bring the clip up, the exposure looks a lot better, and I'm trying to expose for the face, and you can see the face looks pretty good. But now you can see that the shirt and a little bit of the sky is beginning to blur. It's not fully blown out, but we really want to keep it below 896 on this line right here. So what I'm going to do is come over to my HDR wheels, come over to my light and start bringing this down. And as I bring this down, you can see the levels come down a little bit. I come over to my highlights and bring this level down as well. We've gone from this before to an after, and we have this really lovely filmic look to this particular image. The next node that we kind of want to look at is our balance node right here. In our balance node, if your image is a little bit on the warmer side or the cooler side, you're going to adjust your white balance essentially using this gain wheel right here. So here maybe it's a little bit on the warmer side, so I'm going to come over to my gain, looking at my skin, and I'm simply going to shift this a little bit cooler, and I'm going to add a little bit of magenta in there as well. So even with the balance, we've gone from a before to an after, and you can see it's looking a lot nicer just by simply fixing the exposure, and the white balance is looking amazing. With this particular node tree, all the nodes that are green are ones that we kind of recommend you to kind of adjust, and the ones that are pink are ones that you don't really need to touch. In the color node right here, we don't need to touch this. The next node we do have is halation node. If I was to right click and press show compound node, we have different strengths of halation right here, and you can adjust these by simply dragging from the particular square or from the respected node and bring this onto the CST out node. And here you'll be able to see possibly on the shirt here how it kind of adjusts the halation, and kind of you see it's a little bit more visible and less visible on the actual image, and you can kind of go through your images and select what level of halation you prefer best. For here, I'm just going to leave it as that. It looks quite nice. So next node we have our skin. Now this is pink, however sometimes your skin may look a little too dark, but what I recommend you do first is essentially ensure that you're exposing correctly through primaries, and if after that it's still looking a little dark, come over to your skin, come over to your key output, which is in the key tab right here, and I'm simply just going to drag this down, and you'll be able to see when I bring this down that the skin looks a lot lighter, but it's going to lose a lot of that fullness and richness that we initially had within our skin. But for now, with this particular clip right here, the skin is looking really good, and it's actually being nailed really nicely, and you can see the highlights is just being filled in so nicely. It really does differentiate between a digital look and a filmic look, and in my opinion this is looking fantastic. The next node we have is a glow node, and this will add a little bit of glow to our particular node right here. And if you need to adjust the glow, you can come over to the gain slider right here, bring this down or bring this up. This looks very heavenly like this, but here we can just maybe add a little bit, and it'll add a little bit of gain to our image and just add a bit more of that filmic look. And then that's all you have to do, is just adjust the gain and find a point that works best for you. The next node we have is our lens blur node, and this will add a bit of a blur to this particular clip. Now as you can see with this particular clip, it's very hard to see the effect of this, but if you needed to, you can come over to your right click, press show compound node, and you'll have different strengths of this blur for this. So you can see here the strength of that blur is a lot stronger, and we'll utilize this again on a different clip, but you can see here the kind of effect that it has on this clip right here. We have different strengths. Usually 1 is the weakest strength and 3 will be the strongest strength, so you can kind of go through these different types of blurs and see what works best for your clip. For now, I'm just going to turn this blur node off. Then you have an RGB split as well, and you can see on the shirt here it added a little bit of RGB split, which actually kind of looks pretty nice. Your post look, now this is essentially a global look. So if you're wanting to add any specific colors to your image, you can start doing this here. If you're wanting to add a little bit more contrast to your image, you can start doing this here. The next node we can kind of look at is our power windows. Let's say the shirt is still a little too bright for our liking, and we know there is still information within the shirt. So what I can do is come over to my power windows, right click, press show compound node, and I'll find the power window that is coming from the bottom, which is this power window right here. And you can see when I press the power window button, this power window will appear here. And I can press Shift H to see my selection like so. And I can maybe just bring this up like this. And then what I can do is come over to my gain, say if you're using the free version of Studio of DaVinci Resolve, and just use my gain and bring this down like this. You can see that the levels of the shirt has come down a little bit. Alternatively, you can use your HDR wheels like this and bring the highlights down like this. And you can see how much information we was able to bring down simply by using that slider. I mean, I've just overkilled it there just to show you, but you can kind of start bringing it down to wherever you think looks best. So here kind of looks pretty nice. Alternatively, you can always use your curves as well, so we can make 2 points here and bring this point downwards like this, and it'll kind of just drop the highlights ever so slightly of your image like this. And you can kind of then adjust your power window like this ever so slightly, but you can see it before and an after, and we've brought those levels down here and it's looking a lot nicer. So the other power windows that we can kind of look at is our power window 1, which is this one right here, and this is a simple radial power window. So this is made for any subjects in your frame essentially. You can press Shift H to see your selection. You can press these red circles right here to kind of feather it out more or less. You actually want to do quite a strong feathering like this, and this will essentially help do a bit more of a gradual increase or decrease of the look you're trying to create. I'm going to come over to my primaries right here, and maybe I just want to shift the shadows ever so slightly up like this, and I'm going to bring the gain down like this, and maybe I just want to add some contrast using my curves like this. Like so. So then with our power windows here, we've gone from a before and an after, and we're just simply slowly trying to shape this clip like so. The next node we have is our reds node. So you can turn this on and off, and this will simply help you to kind of control your reds. In this clip we don't have too many reds, so you won't be able to see an effect, but when there is reds, you'll be able to turn this on, you'll be able to see an effect and help control those reds a little bit better. The next node is we have warmth, so you can turn this on and off, and this will add a little bit of warmth to your clip, as you can see. The next node is gate weave. When you turn this on, you're just going to get a little bit of that jitter, filmic jitter that you get, and you can turn this on and off like this, and you'll be able to see they'll add a bit of a jitter to your clip. So the next node we do have is we have a softening node and we have a grain node, and this is what kind of gives it that filmic edge for this particular image. Softening, you can come over to your effects, you can make it even softer by dragging the strength of the slider up or down. Alternatively, we also have grain. If you right click, press show compound node, we have 4K grain, HD grain, and grain version 3. Now grain 4K is best used for 4K imagery like this image right here, or if you're working on a 4K timeline, and I recommend you use grain HD on a 1080p timeline because the 4K one might look a little too strong on a 1080p timeline. I do have grain version 3, which is a little bit more coarse, and this is actually one of my favorite grains that we have right here. So the next node is a HL drop. This will just kind of drop the highlights ever so slightly a little bit more. DRT and filmic you do not need to touch, and then we have the blacks right here. And when we turn this on, this is going to kind of make the blacks just a little bit more rich. There isn't too many blacks in this particular clip, but you can see from what we've done in this clip, we've gone from a before to an after, and this is looking really, really nice. The next clip that we can kind of look at, I'm going to show you how fast you can grade with this power grade. So I'm going to right click, press apply grade, and you can see we have this image right here. The first thing we need to do is do our CST. Our CST is already done, set at sgam3.cine and slog3. Come over to my primaries, I'm going to simply come over to my offset, bring this up like this. This is looking really nice. I know the sky's now being blown out a bit, so I can come over to my power windows, come over to this power window right here, bring this down, and then come over to my gain and start bringing this down. So I can get that information from the sky back a little bit, and I can actually add maybe a little bit of blue to that sky as well. Maybe I don't want to bring it too far down so it's affecting the grass. so just ever so slightly. So then we've got a before and an after. You can see the power of that power window straight away. So then we have this really nice image. Maybe I want to add a little bit of blues to my shadows, so I can do this like this and add some oranges to my midtones just to get a bit more of that summer look like this. So we've gone from a really nice before and an after, and this is looking really nice. The one node we haven't looked at yet is a film gate node right here, and this, when you turn this on already, you can see we have this anamorphic look that gets created utilizing this film gate. But if you was to right click and press show compound node, you'll have all of these different film gates or aspect ratios that you can kind of play with. So I can turn this anamorphic look off and kind of click on this one, and you can see you can kind of go through this 4x3, 4x5, 1x1 aspect ratios and choose one that you kind of like best. And this anamorphic one is really cool because if you only have spherical lenses and you've always wanted the anamorphic look, we've created this really nice anamorphic look that you can see here, and you can kind of play with this. And you can see it looks really nice. This time I'm going to do it a lot faster. I'm going to come over to my apply grade. My CST is already done because it's using S-Log3 and S-Gamma3.Cine. Then I'm going to come over to my post look, come over to my contrast, turn this on, shift the pivot towards the right like this. And then do I want some warmth? Actually, a little bit of warmth is good. Maybe I can come over to my film gate and you can see this anamorphic look here. Actually, it looks really cool, and I'm pretty happy with this. With this look right here, we have a talking head, so we can come over to our gallery, right click, press apply grade, and you can see this looks really cool. But I can come over to my primaries, and I know I need to shift the offset up ever so slightly, but you can see we have this before and an after, and already we just have this really nice talking head clip for our particular subject. I can turn on the lens blur, I can turn on the RGB split, and we can kind of go from there. And then another clip we can look at, this is from a commercial. I can come over to my gallery, right click, press apply grade, and you can see already before and an after, it's looking really nice. So I'm going to come over to my balance, shift this more towards the cooler side, come over to my post look, come over to my contrast, shift the contrast up, shift the pivot up, and I can actually come over to my primaries and just bring the highlights down ever so slightly. And maybe now in the post look, I want to add some more blues to the shadows like this, and add some oranges to the midtones just to get a bit more of a teal and orange look. And we have this really nice before and an after, and this gives that really gawksy look that you see in Gawks' videos, but also in a lot of commercials these days. So I think this looks really cool. So another clip that we can kind of look at, so this one will be good usage of the power windows. So if I was to apply grade like this, come over to my primaries, adjust the offsets, bring it up to adjust for this orange Supra, but then I can come over to my primaries again, I guess, come over to my highlights, bring the highlights down ever so slightly, but then we can come over to our power windows, come over to power window 4, and we can actually bring this down like this, and you can see the power of power windows coming through. And then we just have so much information being brought into this particular clip. Image here, maybe we just wanted to increase the saturation a little bit, but we have this really nice before and an after of this particular clip. Here we have a landscape, right click, press apply grade, and I'm simply just going to come over to my primaries, bring this up like this, and I can bring my light and my highlights down like so, and we have this really nice, and maybe we come over to our post look and we add a little bit of contrast like this, and you can see maybe I actually add the anamorphic look this time. So we have a before and an after, so a before and an after, and you can see this actually looks fantastic. And then one last clip, we're going to come over to this clip right here, go over to our Cinegrams Powergrade, apply grade, come over to our primaries, lift it up ever so slightly, but I'm pretty happy already with the end look. Maybe I just want to shift in some blues to this image, and you can see a really nice before and an after. So as you can see, with this power grid we can create a different number of looks, and it's a lot of fun to play with. And I just recommend just having a mess, just going through all the different nodes and just seeing what you can create, because it is a really powerful tool.